Greetings, God bless, and welcome back. I am listening to the audiobook or the Great Courses um, Life Lessons from Great Books. It's from the Teaching Company, and um, the professor is Rufus Fears. And there's a Greek author that's featured, and it's Euripides, who's I think the author, and then I think the play is Alcestis. So the premise is uh, Zeus was mad at Apollo, so Zeus made Apollo serve this king. The king was good to Apollo, so Apollo, when his punishment was over, Apollo gave this king a gift. But in this pantheon, in the Roman or Greek god world, any gift by one of these demons, because that's what these gods were, they were fallen angel demons. So there's always something bad in their gift. So Apollo, if you look in the Bible, is Apollyon. It's like something similar to Satan. So what Apollo's gift was is that that king would never have to die as long as he was able to find somebody who would die for him. So when his time was up, the king went around and asked his dad to die for him, and the father was like, "No, life is good. Your death is your responsibility." So then the king went to his mother, and he's like, "You die for me. You're old." And she's like, "No, I want to live." And he went around and asked his soldiers who had pledged to die for him, and the soldiers were like, "No, I have family obligations. I can't die. And so finally, the king is complaining, and his wife says, "Well, I'll die for you." And so I'm listening to this lecture in March of 2023, March 27th. And does anybody else find this uh, similar, like something has gone on? Because for me, I think other people have compromised everything so that somebody else could live. Because these hysterical people who are like, "You're going to kill me if you don't suffocate yourself. You're going to kill me or grandma if you don't suffocate, if you don't put weird ingredients into your bloodstream, if you don't do this, that, and the other thing." What do you think? Because I think that has occurred, that hysterical people have, like, yeah, thousands of people have died. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people have committed suicide due to the lockdowns and due to the isolation, due to the shaming, due to the blaming. I mean, I've had friends, Christian friends, um, like lifelong friends would tell me they think I should die because I was 2,000 miles away and told them on the phone that I didn't want to do oxygen deprivation. So people have been weaponized against other people. And these people who have been weaponized think that they can cast spells and wish death, intend death, like New Age people, think that folks who do not operate from their narrative should die. And I mean, you just look it up on the internet, just of people saying things, and people's behavior. I would say probably like 2014, 2013, even 2008. Even though, like, I was into Ron Paul at the time until I learned he was a Mason, his wife is a Mason, Eastern Star. But you could still kind of interact with people. But like now, and I would say like after, maybe after maybe 2012, like you cannot even think about talking about anything like that possibly is objectionable to your family member or old friend about politics or about God, it's like you're really walking on eggshells, like just dangerous eggshells. It's not just like, oh, it's gonna ruffle their feathers. So uh, so I just think that's what's this and in Greek culture, yeah, I think this was Greek. It was a requirement. It was a civic duty to go to the theater. It wasn't entertainment. And I think that's what football games are and other kind of massive spectacles in the West, in America. I think those are these great Greek rituals that um, that are doing some sort of mind control. And yeah, and I think that uh, people need moral guidance. We're so distracted by the world, manipulated by the flesh, and stressed out or desensitized or whatever. Like we need these cautionary tales in that's in parables or fairy tales, child stories, and also like the entertainment or the morality plays that we we are around as an adult. Like we need these cautionary tales to be like, you know because anybody who doesn't have a whole lot of wisdom or depth, they're like, yeah, yeah, other people should die for me. I mean, because that's what's happened these past few years. The best people have either been killed or executed the past few years. And in Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he said that in the concentration camps, the best people died the soonest. And they may not have been the most resilient people. And I think, it's just weird. People are like, well, they think they're being realistic, they think they're being practical, that people are dying from certain medical, genocidal things that have occurred. People think that it's acceptable. They think that, well, to make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. But um, that is the mentality of Satan. Like, because when you start saying, oh, it's okay to murder a few people, well, then what's the difference between murdering all the people? Like they're oh, as long as it's not me, as long as it's not some beautiful person, we're not going to murder them. As long as they're not a rich person. I mean, that's the thing. That's what happens is beauty is saved so the rich person has something pretty to look at and rape. I mean, so anyways, I bet similar uh, things have occurred that has occurred these past few years. I think and so I think we are at the end times though, because everything is falling apart, and those that we have elected or just resigned ourselves to being in charge, they're just gleefully raiding everything, and um, or they're just really dumb and in this cult. They're just useful idiots doing the bidding of this death cult that has infiltrated the world, the West. Um, and I think the only solution is Lord Jesus Christ. Uh, and I don't know how much longer we will have. Um, Hopefully, it's like a week, and Jesus will arrive. I mean, the only downside of Jesus' arrival is that we will not be in what's called the age of grace. So believing on Lord Jesus Christ, believing in Lord Jesus Christ as God's only begotten Son who lived a sinless life, died to pay our ransom to redeem us from Satan, because Adam and Eve joined the jurisdiction of Satan when they reject God. And so as a result, all humanity was held hostage by Satan. So Jesus paid the ransom. And then when Jesus resurrected, he proved himself to be God, because he allowed himself to be killed. And then he rose from the dead. And when Jesus returns, which is going to bring judgment, and a lot of people, hopefully, will realize the truth that Jesus returns. There's like non-believers who then become believers because they're going to see, but they're going to have to go through a lot of, it's called tribulation. And just read the last book of the Bible called Revelation, and it's going to be a very difficult time. But at least, even though that time will be difficult, I think it's like, is it 3 years, or I don't know. It's hard to understand time in scripture, and I'm still kind of new, but eternity is really what matters. So even though maybe there's 3 years of hell, I would say the past 3 years have been very difficult, and even before, actually, I would say 2005 really started being very difficult, just for my own health issues, and kind of just realizing how evil even the good things that I thought were. So, yeah, and things have just progressively gotten worse, and I don't know how a lot of people are functioning, and so I don't really blame people for being dysfunctional, for being like desensitized, like people. Yeah, I'm going to do another video about that. But anyways, I just want to say, check out Euripides, Alcestis, I think is the book or the play, and see if you think that we are living this, that there's people who think that everybody else should go do these dangerous death cult rituals, and people die from these death cult rituals. But the people who think that it's helping them, think it's okay. Like I really think it's so hypocritical when uh, places that, like the post office or the government or vaccine manufacturers, they don't have to have the injection, but the entry level worker at the gas station has to have the injection. Like, this doesn't make sense. So the little babies at the daycare center have to have the injection, but all these people who have an agenda, who have what's that word? They have like an investment in, like Pfizer employees are making money from the injection, but they think everybody else should take it and they don't have to. Like this is not fair, and it's conflict of interest. But that's what's been going on, and the thing is, these people whose job protects them from having the injection, when they're threatened with the injection, they're like, I don't want the injection. I think like right now, this week, I saw a headline. So it's the 27th of March, and government employees in DC don't want to have to get the injection. I think there's like some sort of like bill or something that's trying to pass to make them have the injection, but they don't want the injection. And what is troubling to me is people who don't want the injection are then enforcing that everybody else gets the injection. And that's the nature, I think, of tyranny, of despotism, of totalitarianism, of fascism, because these injections are making billions. There's like a tiny group of globalists who are profiting tremendously from this infection mentality that's been going on. So there's a conflict of interest, and it's just so sick. It's so surreal, and it's very it's a big burden to people kind of aware of and concerned about it. Like a lot of people are focusing on Ukraine, or they're focusing on Bitcoin and stuff like that. And I guess this is more my thing. Like, don't kill people. Let's not kill people. I just read in I think it's Genesis, but like it's like God says, don't kill people. Don't kill people in a violent way, and don't kill people in a passive way. But that's what's been happening. And I wondered, like, well, if somebody was like a mass murderer or a child molester or something like that, does God want people to kill people? But God doesn't say that. Now, if God says, like, if God told certain people to fight certain people and win a war and stuff like that, so um, so I think like that's God's judgment, and God sent plagues to Egypt and whatnot. So uh, so anyways, it's all God's mentality, and I really do believe that he's right, and I trust him. And also, I'm aware that Satan is the ruler of earth, so Satan loves to have war and bloodshed and violence and whatnot. So I think there's a distinction to be made about when um, like mass deaths occur, and like with the past few years, I think it's been like Satan and people, greedy people, and lazy people, because so many otherwise nice, practical people, they are working to participate in the executions of people. Like, I don't understand, how do they after your first kill, that's what this has been. It's like this military operation against the public. Like, after killing like that 30-40 year old taxi driver, making him die in his own blood. And there's a nurse that was talking about this in 2020. Like, she was seeing people be diagnosed and then left for dead, because hospitals make money off of this particular diagnosis. Like, if the patient dies with a diagnosis, they make like $300,000 or $600,000, especially if they add the standard medical procedure. So it's like, don't these people feel guilt? Like, and so we have these serial killers that are in hospitals and stuff like that, because they have killed multiple people. And the thing that I got to remember is they've killed a lot of people before. Like 10 years ago or so, like, I was hearing about organ harvesting of people. So, if you're a young person and you've OD'd, you're not necessarily going to get out of there alive. If the hospital or doctor can persuade you, oh, there's nothing to be done, would you like to donate your kid's organs? Then that hospital is making millions of dollars off of harvesting the heart, the eyes, the liver, the kidneys. There's so much money left on the table if they don't try to get that fresh, healthy body for organ harvesting. And people are so naive and trusting, and there's so much money to be made, and blood money, hush money. And I think, there's and I think, like, any nefarious company is going to look for really nice people that lure skeptics. And so, and then they get the skeptics hooked on the system, hooked on medicine, hooked on the protocol, and hooked on the country club, because having, from what I've observed, is people feel included, like when they've got cancer, or some type of like glamorous heroic procedure. They're like, yeah, I'm in this club, and the nurses make them feel this way, I guess, or the doctors or somebody. um, and they're proud that they've survived chemotherapy. And I'm like, you just put these terrible chemicals into your own bloodstream, and you think you did the world a favor, like you think you're great. um I mean, it's like there's junkies out there. I mean, there's people who put all sorts of chemicals in their veins, and they're not proud, and I don't think they should be. And I don't think, honestly, people who are doing weird protocols that are known, that, like putting known toxins into your, it's like um somebody who's kind of crazy and does stupid things, and they're still alive. I don't think they should be applauded for doing something stupid. And this is just my opinion. This is not the opinion of this platform or anybody. It's just, that's just how I feel. And I just find it really awkward when somebody's like, yeah, so and so had breast cancer, so and so survived, like it's just weird. Yeah. But I think there's like this cult of medical procedures, or cult of medical diagnoses. Because I knew this one lady who had, like, I don't know, like she was diagnosed. I mean, the thing is, she was capable of talking, of coherent thought and whatnot, but she was like diagnosed. I don't know, like it wasn't like schizophrenia, or maybe it was like bipolar or something like that. And she had 5 kids, and so she was proud, or it was like her diagnoses and how many children she had was her PhD. Like when you're interacting with well-educated people, they're like, I'm a PhD of philosophy or something like that. And then um, with people who are in the ghetto or in the projects or whatever, like their thing is their medical diagnoses. So it's like, schizophrenia, or cancer survivor. And 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 the thing is, I want to say, is like, I have interacted with people who I don't think have had a college education, and I've interacted with people with a college education, and there's like keen minds everywhere. I've had really close friends who chose, they were like nomads in a way, and there's like smart people everywhere. Not every smart person has had an education. um, but I do think people are seduced by being in a club, or by having some sort of like label, even if it's like a derogatory label. um, so yeah, it's very, um, yeah, it's very strange. So I've kind of lost my train of thought. So with that, I will conclude. But yeah, do you think we are living in Euripides' Alcestis, uh, kind of like a cursed, like in this curse of Apollo? Because I think millions of people have died the past few years, whether it's due to the psychological trauma of the lockdowns, or um, certain practices that damage health, like suffocating. And I mean, like, how many people have had a car crash because of the lack of oxygen to the brain? How many people have fallen off a roof, or a ladder, or pressed a wrong button, because of lack of oxygen to the brain, or due to new things in their bloodstream and a blood clot? Like, how much has that increased? I mean, Like these are new things that have not. I mean, and some of them have been tested. The guy who was heading OSHA in 2020, he had done his paper on oxygen deprivation in the workplace, so he knew better. But he was probably blackmailed into just going along with this crazy agenda. So I think we're under this satanic curse because people were like, "Oh, well, you die for me because I'm so important because I'm too afraid to die myself." And that's the thing, is we are all going to die. And nobody should die for you. But I think a lot of people are like, "Well, in the name of progress, if I can just, ride the wave, I won't have to die. But all the losers, they have to die and they just deserve it because they're losers." Like, that's what I think has gone on. And I think people are like, "Well, if like I don't have to do anything to participate in the world, to help the world, because I just gotta take care of myself or just take care of my family." Like when I was in the New Age and I was listening to Abraham Hicks, who um, channels those demons, Abraham, because it's a multiple entities, legion is demons, like legion is a large group of wandering spirits. um, and wandering spirits are demons. But I remember one channeling session that Abraham did, that Esther Hicks did, and those demons said that you don't have to help the world. You don't have to fix things. You don't have to make things right. And part of me was like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's weird. That's And part of me was like, that's not good." Like because but that's what I've noticed is people like, "Oh, it's not on me." I don't have to have manners driving. I don't have to have manners in the grocery store. I don't have to have manners online. I can just, just can just be this uncivilized, barbaric, ill-mannered cretin. And if anybody has a problem with it, they need to work on themselves. They need to take more Prozac. It's And that's another thing is like, um, if you're rubbed wrong by somebody's bad manners, everybody's like, "Well, just why don't you take some psychiatric medications? Why don't you fix it?" And I mean, there is some like, yeah, okay, what's when you're pointing your finger at somebody, you have three fingers pointing at you. Okay, so yeah, work on yourself. Like, okay, are you being you know too picky or whatever? But I think a lot of people would agree that behavior has declined, the past, yeah, I would say maybe since 2015 or something like that. Um, and I would say it's across all demographics. So, and I think there's just a lot of things that are um, like causing the de-evolution of humanity. So thank you for watching and God bless.